G'day folks and welcome to another episode of Encounters Down Under. We have Oliver joining us on the show who has had multiple experiences with beings from his childhood that even escalated to involving his family. Now I must warn you again that there is an extreme language warning and that we also went a bit longer than anticipated with this episode, so this is a part 2 of episode 4. We also had some technical difficulties making me a bit quieter this episode, so without further ado, welcome to the show, Oliver.
Like, did it actually happen? Because you're still questioning your own reality at this point. You know, you're.
As you would.
I'm 11 years old. There's literally no one to tell about it. I'm in my own world dealing with this because it's so regular. They've just in my life. It's just part of my existence, and I wasn't attending school because we lived out in the bush. I was doing like a homes. Some sort of correspondence school, which I was just refusing to do it anyway because I was kind of being a shit cunt myself because I didn't want to be out there. So I was kind of at war with my stepmother. So I was like, you know, I'll just be really, really fucking difficult.
Rebelling a little bit.
Yeah, I was one of my jobs I used to be fucking terrified to do, but I had to chop a lot of wood and that because we had a slow combustion fire, so I was always chopping wood to keep the fire going. So we had hot water. It was one of them old ones. It burns and then that heats the boiler up, and we've got hot water without the fire going. You know, so I had to keep and because it's cold as hell, you don't want to be going outside all the time. You've got your wood blocks in the house, and it probably held about a ton of wood. So I had to keep that stocked all the time so we could cook and have hot water and have a hot bath and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, wow.
At night, sometimes if it ran low, I was proper country boy. So, you know, splitting, chopping wood, I'd been doing that for years. I'd been chopping wood, and I was definitely a woodcutter from a young age. I was cutting, chopping wood. So I was able to swing an axe really, really, really precise by the time I was 12. I could really swing an axe.
I bet you're looking at trees now and going, I don't want to see another piece of wood now.
Oh, I can't. I fucking hate it. I hate it. But with my son's boxing, actually, I bought a sledgehammer and a tire. I go, here you go. Here's a taste of my childhood, man. Do it for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So anyway, at night, sometimes if the wood ran low, because sometimes I've been protesting, like, no, I'm not fucking doing it. Fuck you, like going off, because that's the way I was. You know, you have to go out and get wood from the wood pile out there in the bush. Here's a wheelbarrow, fill it up with wood, and I've got to go out into the dark, into the bush where the wood pile is. For me, that was with all this stuff going on, that with all these little things that I can't explain,
just sketchy
knowing that there's things that I can't explain out there, and I've got to go out into that dark, into that forest, and get wood at night. That was, I used to do it at the speed of sound, I reckon. I used to cut across that.
It's always like a typical child. They run down the hallway, down the dark hallway, and go, nah, I'm running down this way, or run up the stairs really quickly because some monster's going to get you from behind or something, like, you know.
So we had long drop toilet. You know, you just, we're a bioacoustic, bioelectric transmitter. So our whole, like 97% of our DNA's function is to actually act as a bioacoustic, bioelectric transmitter. Right. So only 3% of our genetic function is actually to reproduce the physical body, to reproduce the proteins that make our physical body, right? The vessel that carries our spirit or our soul. So the other 97%, which they call junk DNA, is actually what we really are, and that's basically just a living antenna, right? Okay. And so when you're getting that feeling, those hairs stand in the back of your neck, and you're like, you know, I can feel something, or I feel like I'm being watched, there's a good chance you are, because you're picking up on something. Yeah. Something else is watching you and sending out a signal to the universe that's watching you, and you're picking up on something. Yeah, you're picking up on it. You know, you can sense if someone, you know, like you've probably had I don't know what sort of life you've had, but yeah, most of them had a scrap at some point. You knew that guy at the front of you was going to sock you in the mouth before he did it.
Yeah,
you know, like
it's
right?
It's totally something unrelated to fighting or anything, regardless. But you see something's going to come at you, but you just don't have the reaction that you want to go on.
Exactly. you can sense it before it's coming, but you don't react and you don't listen to your instinct there, which is that's that bioacoustic that transmitter. You know, there's signals out in the universe and you're picking up on it. Yep. So I used to really feel like something was watching me out there. Something was watching and possibly hunting me. That's what it felt like. You know, it felt like I was this little skinny kid. You know, but I had an axe. It was kind of like swing, split some wood, turn around. You know, you got the axe cocked, ready to smack something. You know, like that's I'd be out there, chop. You know, is anything there behind me? You know, so I was terrified. Just the whole experience out there was just a horrible time in my life. It was just left me shattered, left me absolutely emotionally shattered. So like by the end of that year, you know, I ended up spending like 3 years in a boys' hostel after that year. I was completely fucking absolutely shattered. Yeah. So took a lot to bring me out of my shell after that, because I was so like just rattled from my stepmother, from everything that was going on, being cut off from the world, from having these weird things go on that were traumatic and not being able to talk about it to anybody or explain to anybody. Now, the other thing is I've got physical scars from these experiences. So from those particular experiences, I've got physical scars. So, as I said, I don't think they were out to hurt, but there's an element of maybe they want to test what kind of pain you can handle or something, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe they're Russian.
Trying to get the threshold, see what you can handle, eh?
Yeah, something like that. Because I woke up one night and just getting whipped. That's the only way to explain it. I was getting fucking whipped by nothing that I couldn't say anything, but I was getting whipped, like flogged by something, and it was just hitting me with like hard. And I've got 12 or 13 scars that run horizontal across the broad, like of my back, right from just below my shoulder blades all the way down. Just above my tailbone, and they're scars from these experiences, from these interactions. I think my back, there's about, so I can prove that. I can provide a photo, because I went to bed without them scars and I woke up with them.
Yeah, okay. So it's sort of like a sore scar, like it's sort of scabby, or just like a bit of a an old sort of scar that's been there for a while. It's just like the line of a scar sort of thing.
No, you can feel it's like almost imagine like an African warrior's been bloody, they scar their chest or whatever, and they've got them keloid raised scars on their chest to prove that they're a warrior or a landowner or whatever. The tribal sort of, the way they do things over in Africa or even some parts of New Guinea and places like, men have got to have scars, right? Yeah. To be a warrior or whatever. Well, it's a bit like that. Imagine those. But it's just from being like something really whipping, like a piece of wire or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Did you feel that sort of pain when that was happening?
Oh, yeah. I woke up and it was excruciatingly painful. Each blow was excruciatingly painful. And I actually passed out while it was still happening.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Terrifying in itself as well.
Well, there's not, again, like you're so scared you can't make a sound. Like you can't. There's nothing you can. Who are you going to call out to? There's nothing there. And I had a dog actually. It was it was a strange mix. His mother was a boxer and a pit bull, and its father must have been a border collie. So it was quite a big, strong dog. And I used to chain him up in my room. Fucking chain him to the legs of my bed. Fucking, you're coming in here, son. Like, you're coming here, mate. Yeah, you're in my room for the night. And I'd chain him to my bed, and he'd get up and start growling for like at nothing. Like, I couldn't hear anything. He would get up and start fucking growling, and just like dragging my bed across. It was a big, strong dog, and he'd actually pull my bed across because I had little wheels. It was one of those ensembles with the fucking little wheels. And he'd fucking pull my bed across the fucking room trying to get out. And then it gets to a point where fuck, I'd have to like take the chain off him because he's just pulling my bed around,
Oh,
and he'd fuck off into the bush, like just race off after something.
no fear.
Like
I'd
I'd be asleep, and wake up with my dog just going like going off its head, like tail up in the air, fucking ready to go. Like,
wow.
yeah, and he was one of those big sort of mongrel. Imagine like a pig hunting sort of mongrel dog that you'd use for pig hunt. It was a bit like that. It was a big, strong dog. Yeah, that was my dog. So that was another odd thing about that. My dog used to go nuts. Like he used to bar up in the room in the middle of the night at nothing. At nothing. There'll be nothing there. I'd even like get up and like shit myself, and I had one of those old Rambo knife, with the compass on the end of it.
Oh yeah.
One of those old big old Rambo knife, and I'd get up and because I slept with that under my pillow because I was shit scared all the time. So I had that. And I'd go out there and open the door, and my dog's going off. Fucking nothing there. Go back into bed, hide again. Lay there with me fucking combat knife under me doona, ready to kill something. That's how I fucking. And then I heard that they didn't like water, so I'd get I had a water pistol, so I'd sleep with a water pistol with a not that you could ever fucking use it and control yourself to spray them, but I used to sleep with a water pistol and one of those pump ones like a super soaker and a fucking combat knife. That was my attempt. And I had an air rifle. It was back in the day before you need a license for an air rifle. I had an air rifle as well, so I'd had all that in the bed. It didn't help. It didn't help. I had the fucking big burly, crazy fucking pig hunting dog and fucking air rifle, combat knife. Like that's how I slept at 11 years old. Wow. So I was pretty relieved once I got to the boys' hostel. Actually, it was pretty rough, and I had a lot of fights and things, but at least I wasn't dealing with all this because sort of stuff that I couldn't explain. Who could I tell? And you're in silence when this is going on. It's a bit like, in a sense, I imagine it very similar to kids that have been molested in one of these homes or something, and they've got no one to talk to about. No one's going to listen. So it's a bit like that. Yeah. It's a bit like that. You're on your own. Like there's no who's going to listen to you about this. No one. No, So
that's part of the world on this sort of topic.
Yeah. So then the next experiences, just odd things like it sort of went away or subsided, but I was always terrified. It left me absolutely terrified of the dark. It left me for years and years. I was too afraid to even like in the shower close my eyes under the water in case something was going to be in front of me. While I'm washing my hair, something's going to appear in front of me that I can't explain. I can't.
Like a full-on bit of paranoia about yourself.
For a long time, yeah. I just dealt with it. I'm not like that anymore because I'm close to 40 years old. I've had a lot of time to, I don't sort of carry the fear. Yeah. Because last time now, I had a couple ones where I'm driving and they've taken me from point A to point B. And you sort of, how did I cover that length of journey so quickly? There's a couple of those ones, but this other one which I'll cover involved myself, my wife, and my eldest daughter, and this is the last interaction. So they're not. It's intergenerational. See, these whoever they are have been involved in kind of doing the same thing with my mother throughout her life, and her father was also well aware of these things as well. He used to talk about them and all that. So that's going right back. He was born in like the 1920s, and he was well aware of all this stuff. Okay. So it's hereditary. You've probably heard that before. That part of it's
sort of a bit of a blood contract. It's called.
There's I haven't looked into the contract side of things, but there's something in a particular. I think there's something in a particular bloodline in the DNA that they're interested in. There's something in a certain bloodline, and anyway, I'll get into this other experience, and it's the last one that I had experience with them. So
I do have a question here for you before you do begin, though.
Yep. Yep.
Someone's asking that, did you ever touch their skin?
No, not at that stage because I was unable to move. I was quite just I was so terrified that if they are taking you, you're unable to actually at that stage move my hands or arms or. But I remember them touching me, and they were cold to the touch.
Okay.
They're cold. That's all I remember. Is that the hands were cold. But that could be, anybody's hands were cold. It was Tasmania.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
My hands were cold. So whether they're hot-blooded, cold-blooded, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Now, this next group, there were other little things that happened, but this next one has actually been taken. When was it? It was 2005. We were kind of in a transient period, and we were up in sort of the Nimbin area, and I had friends of mine that owned a property in the hills of Nimbin, and I was actually commuting a lot of nights into Byron Bay. I was a bouncer.
Yep.
And I was quite well known for me antics in the club scene. Yeah. Don't worry, I used to beat up European backpackers. No, it's I'll let the locals alone.
They don't want to come to Australia now.
I sent them home with a souvenir or two.
Oh, dear.
And a story for their mates. But no, I had a bit of a thing because my dad was always told me how much better and that they were, so I wanted to find out.
Fair enough. Prove the old man wrong, eh?
Yeah, I did prove my old man wrong. Anyway, so one night when I'm not working, because I used to work about 5 nights a week or something in various places around Byron Bay and the night spots. And it probably was a Sunday, maybe, one of the nights I wasn't working. Anyway, so I don't remember being taken from my room or anything. I remember being on like a plane. So this is a bit odd.
Yep.
So I'm on a plane. That's the way I remember it, is I'm on a plane. There are seats. I'm sitting. There's my wife. There's my eldest daughter. And this is in 2005. So this is a while ago.
Yeah.
She's only 2 at this stage, 2, 3. And we've landed wherever we landed somewhere, and this is somewhere here. And these ones I believe are the really malevolent ones. The smaller ones that used to have something to do with me as a kid. It's kind of like being involved in a scientific experiment or something. Like you're just this sort of lab rat. Doesn't seem like there's an overall agenda other than to figure out who you are or what you're made of, or
Maybe
I don't know, take some fucking.
Maybe.
It definitely wasn't a. I was too young. Look, man, I was probably shooting blanks at best. It was no, they weren't into me for the sperm samples or any shit like that. It was about me in particular for some reason. So anyway, I'm on this craft. We land. It's a sugar cane growing area, so it's got to be up in the north part of Queensland or somewhere like that where they grow sugar cane. I had the feeling that it was somewhere in the northern part of Queensland somewhere.
Okay.
It's nighttime. There's hundreds of people, and they look just like you or I. They look human. The more human-looking ones, they're the ones who want to replace basically you and I and the regular Joe human. They want to create a hybrid race that looks like us, but it's really them. And that's what they've been working on. This particular group of people, they've been working on that, and they're definitely here. So anyway, we land. We're in this sugarcane field, and it was actually a village. There's a village in this area. There's a village somewhere in this area. So we're led, and I'm abusing everybody. Like I'm fucking going off because I'm at the prime of my life. I'm in my 20s. I'm bouncing like I'm ready to bang. So, you know, I'm getting in it. I'm yelling and going off, but I still don't have the full control. But I've got full verbal control. Like I'm loud. I'm as loud as you like. Yeah, I joined the army when I was like 16, 17. So as soon as I was old enough to join the army, I joined the army. I learned how to use my voice as a weapon. So I could be pretty loud if I want. I was in the infantry. And I've got no problems, removing an eye if I have to. So I'm being very aggressive, angry, but I'm not in full control. They've still got some control over me. So they've led my daughter off and my wife, and there's just people everywhere. And one thing I remember about them is their expressions were all the same. Like all of these people, whoever they were, they look human, but the thing that you could tell they weren't fully human is the fact that you'd look into a crowd of people and it was like looking at all these different people with different physical features, but the feeling you got from each one was exactly the same. Like, you know, if you were to scan a crowd, I worked in crowd control, a lot of my job was to scan crowds. So you scan people, look at them, assess them, see what's going on, see if they're okay, see if they're causing trouble. And you get a feeling just for looking at one person, look at another. Like I could tell who's trouble as soon as they come in, you know.
Yeah, so you see the body language.
And their facial expression. No, it was their facial expression.
Oh, okay.
They all had the same facial expression, every single one of them. There was no individuality in terms of their you even look at a cricket match when you see 200 people in that frame, and you could look at each person and get a different feeling on each one just by looking at their face.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're human, right? Because they're human.
Their demeanor, basically.
Right. So I'm looking at all these people, and they've all got the same expression, and it was just odd. It just strikes me. This is how you know. This is how you know, because each person's got their own. We're bioacoustic transmitters. We're transmitters. So you're looking at people and you're picking up on their frequency. They're picking up on yours, and each one, you can feel a different thing when you look at each person. So, because each face is a unique thing and each soul is a unique thing. So you're looking at these people with all the same expression and the same level of emotion, or emotionless. They were emotionless. It was weird.
Okay, was it like a bit of a blank expression?
Yeah, in a way, like a total lack of enthusiasm for life. Like, but they're there, and I don't know if it's a bit like a Stephen King film where they're all kind of, what's that one where their aliens are under the town and everybody's got like same emotion and same expression, but it's all just like a hive mentality. Like it's all one collective mind, you know. I can't think of it either, but there's a Stephen King movie about that where they're under a town and everybody's sort of gets locked in with this, or changed by this bloody aliens that are living under the town or something. And
yeah, I think I really remember it, but I can't think of it.
Yeah, and so if one's looking at you, it's like all of them know where you are. You know, it's like this one collective mind. It's a bit like that. So, but they're able to intermingle and interact with our society in the greater, wider community of humanity, undetected, because you wouldn't know if it was by himself. If you had 1,000 of them, 1,000 of us, be no question who's who. You'd know we're them and they're them. Like you would know. So we would just pick it up straight away. There's something wrong. So anyway, so they led my daughter, because they took my daughter off, and that's what I was really going off about. And so for me, this one was where they showed their sadistic side, because they wanted to demonstrate to me that they still had full control over me, and that they could come into my daughter's life and they could come and do whatever they wanted. Like they wanted to demonstrate to me that they had this kind of control. So I was angry as fuck, because they're communicating through their mind still, right? They're still communicating telepathically like they do. and they took her off. And I remember running around this town, or this not a town, but a village, a very rustic, basic looking village. And I'm looking for this, and I can't remember how I got from where we landed, the opening in the sugarcane field. I don't know how we got from there to this village. I can't remember. So I did remember everything in sequence until a certain point, and I'll get to that. And the whole time that I was having this experience, I remember thinking, I've got to try and really force these memories into my mind, because they're gonna block it, just like all the other times when as soon as it comes to something that might be of, different that I can remember, it ends. It's always on their terms. So thanks. So so I'm searching through these buildings, and I'm looking for my daughter,
Right.
and there's like no one around. And then I look into one of the buildings. I look into this room, and they've got my daughter on a fucking table, like a fucking medical table.
Yeah.
And there's all these people. There are all these people, like a big crowd of people, all watching, and they're performing some kind of I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what they're doing, because the next thing I know, I'm on one of these fucking tables, right? So I'm on this on a fucking on some sort of table. I'm fucking on a table, and I'm had me fucking clothes ripped off. I'm on this fucking table. I'm naked. Daughter's over there. She's naked. I don't know where my wife is. I don't know where she is. I can't remember. But the whole entire time, I'm just yelling abuse at these. I'm gonna fuck you up when I fucking finally can get out of this. I'm gonna fuck you up. I was just threatening the whole time. I'm gonna fucking have you when I get out of this. Like one day, I'm gonna be able to break this. One day, because I've never been able to be that vocal. And they got me when I was a kid, and now I'm a full grown male adult. 6'2", 120 kg in my prime. Let's go. Ex-army. Let's do it.
Yep, you're ready to go, right?
And you're doing something to my daughter over there, So, and I was just over this whole thing. So, I was over him in my life. I was over it. Absolutely 100% over it. So this is where I saw their true malevolent side, and what they did was to shut me up. Not like the Matrix where they seal your mouth, nothing like that.
Yep.
They removed, and it's going to sound insane, but they actually removed my left arm from the shoulder.
Oh.
Yep, they removed my left arm from its shoulder.
Okay, that's
right?
extreme.
Yeah, and then they left it on me, so I'm laying there, can't move, with my fucking left arm detached on my midsection, and that was like a message. That was a message from them. That was like, don't, shut your hole. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we can do. There was no blood, no bleeding. I don't know how they did it, but all I know is that my and I always had problems with my left shoulder after that, because I used to box, and I used to spar a lot of professionals, just from my bouncing and just for me general health and that as well. I used to do a bit of Muay Thai and that, and I had a pretty decent left hook. I couldn't left hook no more. I couldn't use it since then. So not like I used to. So it gave me a problem with my left shoulder. Now I remember, but it didn't shut me up. I was still going off my brain, holding my arm with my right arm, holding my left arm. Anyway, they finished doing whatever they're doing, and they're leading us back to take us back to wherever we come from. So they were taking us back, and I remember, even to this point, I still remember that I remembered everything in sequence. I remembered everything clear and vivid, like I was awake, and I remembered everything, right? And I remember in the back of my mind that was the most important thing to do, was try and remember everything.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that might have been, he looked about 50 years old, and he was heavy built, and I remember he had glasses, right? He had glasses, spectacles, and he was wearing a red shirt, and I'll never forget his face. And he said, and he said, as he put something in my mouth, because what he did was what they did was to erase the memory. They put something in my mouth, and it was kind of like when you lick a 9-volt battery.
Yep.
So I licked this. So it was like that sort of sensation when you lick it, like that kind of battery, when you lick a 9-volt battery, but really intense.
Yep.
And it's kind of like detuning a TV all of a sudden. You know, remember the old analog TVs?
Yep.
You could wind the dial and suddenly the screen would go a bit weird.
Yep.
That was a sensation that happened in my brain.
Oh, wow.
Right, but it's on my brain, and that put a lot of haze on everything that happened. So, because there was a lot more that went on, and he said very distinctly to me, he goes, because I never really spoke to me verbally, directly, and he looked at me and he when he put this thing in my eye, he said, I'll be keeping an eye on you, like that.
Oh, strange.
Yeah, and I said, yeah, well, I'm going to remember your fucking face, like that. I said, I'll remember your fucking face, cunt, like that. And then all I remember is we're back in Nimbin in our cabin in the hills, and that was the last interaction they had with me. So they've had their way with me. They've done whatever they need to do with me, and they've moved on. But those lights, those orbs are still, they still appear every now and again, and I know they're not in my head because one day me and my wife was staying at a hotel.
Yep.
And she was in the bathroom, and she looked out the window and she goes, "Oh, look, there's a glowing light outside." And I ran in and I seen it fly off, and I was like, "Ah, cool! Finally, someone else has fucking seen." Yeah, I said, "Yeah, they've been," because I didn't tell her about those, and because I would have thought she would have thought I was mad, So because I asked her, I said, had you had any of these experiences prior to meeting me, or do you know if your mum had, or your dad, or because I know it's hereditary, because it was just common knowledge in my family. Like, it's just common knowledge. Like, my mum and everyone in my family knows about it. Like that they just come and take you when they want, sort of thing. Like, it's just how it is, and they'll come for your kids. Like, it's just how it is, and it's out of your control. So yeah, they've moved on from me, and they've yeah, I think they're now, targeting a daughter.
That's something that you don't really want, but yeah. I was just like,
No, but that's what I think. But she remembers she has interactions with the tall whites.
Oh, okay. Right.
The tall white ones that you hear about. They're more of they're the elders.
Yeah. Okay. Jeez.
They're the elders. They're like the, I don't know, man. They could even be our fucking creators. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
so they've got a different agenda with the females. To the males, like to us men, they've got a different agenda with the males and females. What they want from whatever they're looking for us is obviously different from what they're looking for from the females. They're looking for incubators.
Yeah.
With the females.
Theories about that one. So no.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's something to do with what do you call this hybridization, like the making this blending them and us, but on the inside they're more them than they are us, but on the external they look like us.
Yeah.
And they've got this sort of utopian aim for the future, a world of no money, where everything's kind of
Cashless.
it's a cashless in a sense, but there's not even any kind of unit of exchange for currency or anything like that. It's purely a totally harmonious society, but one where free will doesn't really exist either. So it's one of these sort of all your fundamentals are taken care of. Like, you know, you've got the house and you've got somewhere to live, and that work will become like meaningless jobs, and that will become the thing of the past. But along with this is, population reduction. You've probably heard that in conspiracy theories and all that, but the only way that this will happen is via, some sort of reduction in overall population. And I don't know if there's other colonies on other planets. I kind of have very vague memories of an alternate place where the houses are a little different. They're sort of like dome-shaped, egg-shaped, sort of stuff like that. But it's not very clear. That could have been one of those ones where it blocked off. But there are other places out there in the cosmos where they live completely differently, and it's all based off sort of free energy. And look, it's not all bad, but it is bad if you're the ones being eliminated.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
But my interactions with all of this made me very aware that there was a separation between the soul and the body, the spirit and the body. It's the body's one thing and the spirit is a separate thing, and that the spirit doesn't die anyway. So
it's made you mentally aware anyway.
Yeah, it made me more mentally aware. Where if other possibilities to this reality that we're in, and everyone's trying to, whole belief systems are based off, this idea of reincarnation and souls being reused and this sort of thing. So I don't know whether it all actually happened or not, but this is my experiences, and as I said, when I initially got in touch, it was more than a simple, I was seeing something amazing, which is also profound and awesome for anyone that gets to experience it. I just, I don't believe that they're 100% there for our total complete benefit, for us. I really don't, because the interactions are all on their terms.
Yeah.
They come when you've got no control, you don't expect it. You know what I mean? So it's always on their terms, and they've got an agenda. They've got a real agenda to alter the earth and humanity. Right from the very, very core. But they'll be the ones in charge. They're probably already in charge of everything.
I imagine that would be, if that would be the case.
They're already in charge of everything. I was kind of having a joke to myself when you were having problems with the mouse earlier, and I was like, oh, maybe the CIA's hooked in.
I have said that before. I tell you what, there's going to be something going on here. Every time we're trying to do a stream, something goes wrong. It's just every time so far, I've not had a clean stream.
But in terms of military people that know or have ideas about this thing or this kind of thing, deep underground military bases and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
I know everyone knows about Pine Gap, the installation down the desert there. Everyone knows about that. Area 51, but there's they're more like weather modification and signals and electronic warfare and all that sort of stuff out there. But the ones that are probably more extreme are the ones we don't know about.
Yep.
And there are bunkers within Australia, out in Northern Territory, and I know this because during my time with the military, I had a sergeant. He'd been in the army for 19, 20 years or something, proper, an infantry sergeant.
Yep.
very clued on guy, very, you know, earthy kind of guy, you know, here and now, not in the cosmos, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yep.
proper grunt, you know. And anyone who's done 20 years in the infantry is a pretty solid sort of dude, you know, like character wise, physical wise, you know, like in every kind of way, you know.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit mad, a little bit insane, but they're here and now and earthly kind of people, and bloody good people too, very good people. And anyway, he told me about a facility that's in the Northern Territory somewhere, and it's in a crater. It's actually in a crater. It's run by the US.
Yep.
He didn't even know about it, and he didn't even know that he was actually going there. He was just, I think he was acting as a driver in this particular point of his this particular assignment.
Okay.
And he said there was a facility down in a crater, and under this crater, when they were conducting all the nuclear testing and all that stuff, right. So what they do is they actually, and this is going away from the UFO stuff, but it's just sort of leading to there's other things going on here, you know, that aren't being disclosed. The big secretive thing. So. In this, what they do is they drill it into the crust, into the earth, deep into the earth, and they detonate a nuclear bomb under the crust. And then what they do is it creates a bubble. So they must have to do it in a certain level of the crust, like that. It must be in a certain depth, certain. What it does, creates a bubble, and then so 20 years later, after they create this bubble under the earth, under the whatever layer of the earth that they go down to, 20 years later, it's the radiation has dropped to a safe enough level where people can go down there, and they build a facility under there.
Yeah. Okay. That's wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was told to me by a sergeant. I also worked overseas as a security contractor with him as well.
Yeah.
So we're involved in sort of high level and somewhat secretive operations overseas. So, you know, I had to sign a like a, what do you call it, a non-disclosure, more than a non-disclosure, it's a deed. So I'm on a deed with the Commonwealth, basically, that if I go public with any of my knowledge, that I can be jailed for 20 years.
Yep.
So so if I went to the media and, you know, wanted to talk about, but that's nothing that relates to any of our operations. So that's just a conversation that him and I had when we were doing nothing. So these facilities do exist. And he was unaware, and he'd been in the army for 20 years, so he didn't know about it. And he drove into it, didn't even know what he was driving into. And then he got out, and I think he was driving some high-level Americans, because it's run by the US. So he was driving some people out, or driving people there, and he said he wanted to go exploring, and he found a lift, and he wanted to go and have a look, because it goes down 20, 30 floors under the, this lift.
Yeah.
It goes down about 30 floors under the ground. And he was like, "Oh, I want to go and have a look," you know. And he got pulled up by the Americans that were running it. No, you can't go down there, you know, like, yeah. So there are these. So there is, Pine Gap Area 51, but there's other ones that you and I are not privy to.
No, I imagine they would be for sure.
So
that goes straight past us.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the reality is stranger than fiction, man. Like, there's a lot going on, and especially with all this, COVID-19 and this year, it's like the Nazis never actually got defeated. They just sort of went somewhere else and continued their policies. This experimental vaccine. Did you know that if you enroll in this COVID-19 vaccine, that you're actually agreeing to be tracked and traced for 2 years by the US Department of Defense?
I think I did hear something about that, but I'm not really
too in depth with it.
But I do have a question here for you, though.
Yep.
So before we do end the show, because I'm going to have to end the show up, we're well over time. We've been smashing right into this one. We've been very busy. The question here is, would you recognise the town? So this is going back into your abduction there with your daughter and your wife and all sorts of stuff. So I think, would you recognise the town if you went there now?
I do know there's a big gate at the front. That's just like a construction type fence sort of gate, like, you know, big mesh sort of fence gate. It's gated off.
Okay.
That's all I could tell you. I possibly could. I think it's in the North Queensland somewhere.
Yeah, but this is
that's
like,
what that's
nearly over 15 years ago now, so it'd be probably looking totally different.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But it is. I believe it's a place that's here, and they're here. So, yeah, and you know, who knows? I'll probably get another visit after this goes out.
Maybe so. Well, look, anyway, we're going to end the show there, mate. Look, thanks very much for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic having you on here.
Yeah, cool. And as I said, you know, I don't expect anyone to believe it, because I wouldn't believe it if I just heard it. Yep. So I'm not expecting, and I'm expecting people to go, oh yeah, whatever, you know, have a laugh, whatever. That's fine. I'm not insane. This is just the experience that I've had, and I thought, like, you know, I've never really talked to anyone outside the family. I thought, no, I'm nearly 40. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, look, it's one of those things, unless you've experienced it yourself, you will never believe it, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. So people say they've seen things or whatever. I don't write it off anymore. I'm just like, yeah, it's possible. You know, it's possible. You weren't there, so who knows? You know, who knows? Because look, at the end of the day, you don't get anything for coming out with anything like this. No, like that Bob Lazar, you know, his life's been turned upside down. You know, you don't get nothing for coming out for any of this stuff.
No, and he sort of put the whole broke the leash on everything on that, and then he's not really monetizing on it too greatly. Like, obviously, not going to do it for free with everyone, with the media. So, But you know, he's not really overboard with it like other well-known names.
No. Oh, there's that Canadian guy that always talks about it. I can't listen to him. The what's his name? The Canadian, he's ex-defense minister. He just goes on and on and on.
Fair enough.
And I can't sort of get into, you know, listening to him too much. But yeah, that's my experiences in a nutshell.
Thank you very much for joining us with that and telling us about it. That's absolutely awesome. Now, I believe you wanted to do a bit of a shout out, didn't you?
A shout out?
Yeah, you wanted to do a shout out.
No, I can't remember now.
It was about your son's boxing. You want to do a shout out?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, my son's a young boxer, and we do a lot of training, and just started a page for him. He's going to start getting coached by Jeff Fennick. So had a big meeting with Jeff Fennick. You know, about a week and a half ago, Jeff invited us to his house, and he's sort of taken notice of my son already, because he's quite a talented little guy. And it will be in the heavyweights more than likely, because he's quite a solid little dude. So for 11, so pretty exciting there. And we've just got his Facebook page up and running, Marshall White boxing page. It's good to support. Yeah, we're trying to stay positive for all this, because our plans got thrown up in the air with this whole COVID thing. So a lot of gyms were closed, and it's just it's been a nightmare, man. So many. Yeah. So anyway, we try and stay positive and keep going and soldier on. Don't let it get you down.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
No, all best to him. I hope he does well in his future career anyway.
Yeah. So, thanks, man. It's been good talking, and hopefully it's enlightening for some people. And sorry I couldn't fill you in more about finer details of what their skin was like or enough like it. It seriously is filled with so much terror that's the last thing that's going through your mind, and I hope that you never experience it. But unfortunately, some of us, locked into it, and it's a lifelong thing. They once they're in, they'll reappear. You know, that's just how it is. So,
till next time. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much.